because he took sannyas at the age of 24. And then he went to Jagannath Puri. So, Krishnadas Kaviraj is giving us synopsis. Means short, small. He's just listing some of the events of Mahaprabhu's pastime. Later on, he will elaborate on them. But for now, in this chapter, he's just touching, letting you know, this happened, this happened, this happened, like that. It's called a synopsis. He says, for the last 24 years, after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the renounced order, sannyas, whatever pastimes he executed were unlimited and unfathomable. Who can understand the purport of such pastimes? However, just to indicate these pastimes, I am presenting a general survey of the chief pastimes of the Lord in the form of a synopsis. So this is like you said, a general survey. The first of this synopsis is that after accepting sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proceeded towards Vrindavan. So this will all be elaborated later, but he's just stating this is what happened briefly. Prabhupada gives a comment. Clearly, these statements are a real account of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's acceptance of the renounced order of life. His acceptance of sannyas is not at all comparable to the acceptance of sannyas by the Mayavadis. They also took sannyas. And many of them were around during the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After accepting sannyas, as stated here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's aim was to go to Vrindavan. Unlike the Mayavad sannyasis, who desired to merge into the existence of the Absolute. For a Vaishnava, acceptance of sannyas means getting relief from all material activities and completely devoting oneself to the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is confirmed by Srila Rupa Goswami in his verse, Anasaktasya Vishayan Jatarham Upayunjata Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhi Yuktam Vairagyam Uchati. For a Vaishnava, the renounced order means completely giving up attachment for material things and engaging non-stop in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Mayavadi sannyasis, however, they don't know how to engage everything in the service of the Lord because they have no devotional training. We are here to be trained. Should always remember that. We don't know anything, but we are here to be trained in devotional service. We don't know how to please Krishna, so we have to learn. Here in the material world, this is the training ground. When you go to the spiritual world, then you nobody is allowed there. Nobody is allowed to go there unless they're trained up. So we should enthusiastically accept the training. Then, because our prayojan, our goal is to go back home, back to Godhead, and engage in Krishna service. So, because the Mayavadis have no devotional training, they don't know how to engage everything in Krishna service. In fact, they think that material objects is untouchable. Everything is Maya. They think money is Maya. Everything is Maya. That's why they're called Mayavadis. But the Vaishnava doesn't think like that. They say, the Mayavadis say that this world is false. But the Vaishnava sannyasis, we don't think like that. The Vaishnavas say, how could the world be false? It is reality. And it is meant for the service of the Supreme Lord. Because the material world is created by Him. It's His energy. And for Him, nothing is material. If we use the material world to satisfy our senses, that's material. But when we use the same material energy, material world, to please Krishna, that is spiritual. So for Vaishnava sannyasi, renunciation means not accepting anything for personal sense enjoyment. Devotional service means engaging everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. Yeah, they need to stop talking so loud out there. Maybe someone could just peep out and tell them to keep quiet.
I just told it.
Oh, you told them. So now Krishnadas Karya continues with the synopsis. When proceeding towards Vrindavan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed with ecstatic love for Krishna, and he lost all remembrance of the external world. In this way, he traveled continuously for 3 days in Radhadesh, where the Ganges river does not flow. He's still in Bengal, but he wants to go to Vrindavan. First of all, Lord Nityananda, being bewildered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Lord Nityananda bewildered Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by bringing him along the banks of the Ganges, telling him that this was actually the river Jamuna. Because Mahaprabhu wants to go to Vrindavan, but he's in ecstasy. He doesn't really, he's not aware of his surroundings. So Nityananda Prabhu wants to keep him a little longer in Bengal. Because when he took sannyas, it was a secret affair. All the devotees didn't know he was going to take sannyas. He just told a few people. He told Advaita, Nityananda Prabhu. I think he told his mother. But the bulk of so many devotees didn't know. And early in the morning, he got up, walked out the door, went and swam across the Ganges river it's wide in Mahabodhip area. If we want to go, we need to take a boat. Unless you're a really good swimmer. I guess Mahaprabhu was a good swimmer. He swam across to the other side, and then he went to Katwa, walking. So he took sannyas. So nobody knew. But Nityananda Prabhu thought, this is not right. All the devotees, when they wake up in the morning, when they come to his house, they'll find out, where's Mahaprabhu? He's not here. Where is he? He took sannyas and he's gone. So Nityananda Prabhu thinking, this will break the devotee's heart. So he tricked Lord Chaitanya to come back. And how he did it, he went ahead of him and he saw some cowherd boys, herding some cows, and he told them, there's a sannyasi coming here. Ask him where he's going. If he says he's going to Vrindavan, tell him it's this way, in the opposite direction. So he did that. Nityananda Prabhu played a trick on Lord Chaitanya, and he came back. As he's coming back, he runs into Advaita Acharya. And he said, Advaita, what are you doing in Vrindavan? He said, Advaita said, this isn't Vrindavan, we're still in there, this is Mayapur, Bengal. And Lord Chaitanya realized he was tricked. He said, I wanted to go to Vrindavan. That was his desire. Now Advaita said, anyway, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Because your mind is always thinking of Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu had said, Morman Vrindavan. My mind is always thinking of Krishna in Vrindavan. So Advaita said, anyway, come to my house, let's take prasadam. So he went to Advaita's house. While he's going there, Nityananda Prabhu went and informed all the devotees in Navadvip, Mayapur, come to Shantipur, come to Advaita's house. Mahaprabhu is there. So, this is where they will find out that he took sannyas. So after 3 days, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to the house of Advaita Acharya at Shantipur. And he accepted alms, means he accepted prasadam, because he's a sannyasi. He doesn't have a home. He takes his meals when some devotees offer him prasadam. So this was his first acceptance of alms as a sannyasi. And at night, he would perform congregational chanting, Sankirtan. Prabhupada comments, it appears that in his transcendental ecstasy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had forgotten to eat for 3 days. You think you could go 3 days without eating? No? Why not? We don't want to miss one meal, but to speak of 3 days. Here at the temple, you get breakfast, lunch, and even a little dinner. But Mahaprabhu, when he left, for 3 days he didn't eat anything. So then, after not eating for 3 days, he was misled by Nityananda Prabhu into thinking that the river Ganges is the river Jamuna. Because Jamuna runs in Vrindavan, Ganges runs in Bengal. Because the Lord was in ecstasy of going to Vrindavan, he was very happy and thinking that this is Jamuna. Because Nityananda told the cowherd boys to tell him, this is Jamuna. So he was happy. In this way the Lord, although the river was the Ganges, but in this way the Lord was tricked, and then he was brought to the house of Advaita Prabhu at Shantipur after 3 days. There he accepted food. As long as the Lord remained at Advaita's house, he saw his mother, Sachidev, and every night he was engaged in Sankirtan, congregational chanting with all his devotees. At the house of Advaita Prabhu, the Lord met his mother, Sachidevi, as well as all of the devotees of Navadvip, Mayapur. And he adjusted everything, means he let them know what his plan is. And then he went to Jagannath Puri. Prabhupada comments, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu knew very well that his acceptance of sannyas was like a thunderbolt to his mother. He knew she would be unhappy, but he did it anyway. Why did he take sannyas? For us. Yeah. He took sannyas for us. But he knew this would be like a thunderbolt to his mother. Therefore, at Advaita's house, he called for his mother to come close. When she saw him, and by the arrangement of Advaitacharya, he met his mother and all the other devotees of Bengal for the last time before going to Puri. It is a very touching scene. Touching means it's filled with emotion. Because Mahaprabhu was taking sannyas. When his mother came and saw, this was the first time, the first time she'd seen him shaved up. He was clean shaven. There was no longer any more of his beautiful hair on his head. Nimai. That was the last time she saw him. And they said like 3 days had passed. And she comes and sees him and all his beautiful hair is gone. But Mother Sachi was pacified by the devotees, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked her to cook for him. He knew this would make her happy. This will help her to get over the shock of seeing him like a sannyasi. Because every mother wants to cook for their child. So he said, why don't you cook for me? So all the time, for the days that he spent at the house of Advaitacharya, Sachimata cooked for Lord Chaitanya there. Then after a few days, Mahaprabhu requested his mother's permission to go to Jagannath Puri. Because at his mother's request, he went there and made his headquarters after the acceptance of sannyas. And so everything was adjusted with his mother's permission. There was a special sweet relationship between the Lord and his mother. it has been described in other books, Chaitanya Bhagavat and others, that when Mahaprabhu came there at Advaita's house, and it was arranged for his mother Sachi to come there. Nityananda Prabhu actually, he arranged everything. He arranged him to come back by, telling the boys to mislead him. And he arranged for all the devotees to come. So everyone could come and see Mahaprabhu. Everyone except one person. Who's that? Vishnu Priya. His wife, she was the only one that was not allowed to come and see him. When one takes sannyas, that's it. Prabhupada said, taking sannyas is like civil suicide. He's like dead to the family. They can't see him anymore. So she wasn't allowed to come, but his mother was allowed. Because there was a sweet relationship between them. And when she came and she saw him, it was like a thunderbolt. Seeing him shaved up and wearing his saffron robes, she began to cry. And Mahaprabhu showed her some affection. He knelt down and touched her feet, touched his head to her feet, described. And he said, "Mother, this body belongs to you. Right? You gave me this body. We get our body from the mother, through the mother." So he said, "My body belongs to you. But somehow or other, I don't know, but somehow or other, in a moment of madness, I took sannyas." This is how he's explaining it. That somehow or other. No, he knew he was going to take sannyas. And he told Advaita and others, But he's trying to pacify her because she's very upset. And he says, "But anyway, I did it. But if you order me right now, I will give up this sannyas and come back home with you." Can you imagine that? And Mother Sachi said, No, you can't do that. If you give up, take sannyas and then give it up, people will talk all over the village, the town, everywhere. They will say bad things about you. They will ridicule you. They'll say, "He's just a mama's boy. Took sannyas and now he's gone back home to his mother." They won't say nice. They won't look at it as something wonderful. So Sachi, although she is somewhat sad, very sad that he took sannyas, she couldn't bear to think that if he gives it up, how people will talk about him. So she said, No, don't do that. But what you should do, you should go to Jagannath Puri and make your headquarters there. And because many devotees from Mayapur and Navadvip, they will go there every year for Rath Yatra festival. And they will get to be with you and see you. And when they come back, they will bring news about you. So in this way I'll always be informed of how you're doing. So it was on Mother Sachi's suggestion, he went to Jagannath Puri. So he said, "That's a good idea, I will do that." So she was pacified and happy, And as I said, everything was adjusted, everybody was satisfied. And the devotees in Bengal, they realized, yes, we'll still get to go see him every year. We'll go to for the Rath Yatra, and that's a big festival. And we'll be with him, and then we'll come back. And this is done by walking anyway. They would take at least a month to walk there.
How long?
A month of walking, it's long distance.
So much?
Yeah. To go there, to go to Jagannath, I went to Jagannath Puri from Mayapur.
It's a 7-hour train ride.
See? 7 hours on the train.
Slow train.
No,
No,
That's
really
right.
fast.
fast.
Yeah.
When I went, one devotee took me. He arranged for me to fly. We took a train to Calcutta, and then we went to the airport and fly, because it's far. I don't know the measurement in kilometers or miles, but then when we flew to, where did we flew? We flew to Bhubaneswar, because there's a big airport there. And from there, we went by car.
2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours. So to walk all of that, it will take a month. Probably like walking from here to Paris. Could you conceive of doing that? No? It's too far. But every year the devotees would do that, make a pilgrimage from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, Orissa.
They stopped in big cities.
Yeah.
On
The way they do it, they would take ingredients to cook prasadam. They would stop, cook and eat, spend the night there. Next morning continue walking. This way, suddenly they arrive. So it was like padayatra.
Yeah.
They walked. And this was done every year, because Mahaprabhu, we will hear, he requested him. He also wants to see his devotees. He's happy to see it. So he's telling them, every year you come. So, on the way to Jagannath Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed many other pastimes. He visited various temples, and he heard the story about Madhavendra Puri and the installation of the Gopal deity. Also, from Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the story of Kir Chor Gopinath, and the story of the witness Gopal. So and the author, Krishna's Kaviraj, he will share these stories, what Mahaprabhu heard from Nityananda Prabhu. He will share it in detail later on. But here he just mentioned it. This is what happened. Then Nityananda Prabhu broke Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's sannyas danda. That's another thing that will be described and elaborate. How can he do that?
You spoke last Saturday.
Hmm?
Last Saturday you described it.
Yeah, I mentioned it in
You read that the pastime of Kher Chora Gopinath.
Mm-hmm.
Usually we hear about the store full of sweet rice.
Yeah.
Is in Bengali Kher?
No. Kishira
Oh,
Yeah.
Kher Chora Gopinath. But he said Kher. He the same Kher?
Yeah. Kir, it's Kir.
Yeah, Kir.
Yeah.
What is
Oh, that's the milk.
Kheer actually it's like
Oh,
without
there's
rice, just condensed
cooked down milk.
Becomes solid.
It's like you take milk and cook it down till it becomes thick. When the milk is cooked down, say you start with a gallon and you end up with a cup. That's called kheer.
Right. And kheer and kshira, the same?
Same thing.
Same. C'est la même
It's
chose.
just
No rice.
no rice.
Ou cette façon de prononcer.
But
en
in
fait.
other parts of India, they say sweet rice kheer.
Yeah.
But we don't
But
say
kheer
sweet
is really
rice,
just,
it's the same.
this is how I was trained.
Yeah, kheer.
Kheer, we made kheer for the deities by cooking down milk.
Yeah.
And we also made another sweet rice,
Yeah.
Sweet rice is fine. Yeah.
which is milk rice cooked in milk. So,
Thank you.
after his sannyas rod or danda was broken by Nityananda Prabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu apparently externally became very angry. And he left his company and proceeded to travel alone to Jagannath Puri. He left all the devotees and he went ahead. He was showing that he's angry that Nityananda Prabhu broke his danda. But it was, who can understand? Nityananda Prabhu won't do anything that Lord Chaitanya wouldn't be happy about. He's always conservative. So there's a reason why he did it. Anyway, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entered the Jagannath temple, he saw Lord Jagannath, he immediately lost his senses, he fell down on the ground unconscious. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya happened to be there and he took him to his home. The Lord remained unconscious until the afternoon, so for a few hours, when he finally regained his consciousness. The Lord had left Nityananda's company. There were other devotees also, and he had gone ahead alone to Jagannath Puri. But later, Nityananda Prabhu, Jagannatha, Damodar and Mukunda, they came to see him. They found out. When they arrived in Puri, they inquired from people at the temple, did a young sannyasi come here? And they said, oh yeah. When he came, he fainted. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya took him to his house, which is very close. So he was there unconscious. And when the devotees came, and they saw him there, he just lost to the world. They began to do kirtan. And that revived him, that woke him up. Because when one goes in a trance, he's not aware of externally anything. Even our Prabhupada, occasionally he went into a trance. And the devotees didn't know what to do. His eyes were closed and he was, he do like this and he was lost. And one devotee decided, he started to chant. He started a kirtan. And Prabhupada came back to the external consciousness. And he died. The devotee said, you left us. You were here, but you left us. And we didn't know what to do. But one devotee, he started kirtan. Was that all right? We didn't know if that was the right thing to do, if that would disturb you. He said, no, that was the right thing. Here, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, same thing was done. He came back. Mahaprabhu was very happy to see his devotees. He was very pleased. After this incident, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bestowed his mercy upon Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya by showing him his original form of Krishna, Shyam Sundar. He manifested this form before him. After bestowing his mercy upon Sarvabhauma, the Lord started to go to South India. But when he came to Kurmakshetra, he delivered one person there named Vasudev. Again, these things will all be elaborately described later on. After visiting Kurmakshetra, the Lord visited the South Indian temple of Jayada Nrsimha, the Nrsimhadev temple. He offered his prayers to Lord Nrsimhadev, and on the way, he introduced the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra in every town and village. Alone, everywhere he went, he got people to chant. One time, the Lord mistook the forest on the bank of the river Godavari to be Vrindavan. He sees the forest and he thinks, this is Krishna, this is Vrindavan. Everything was reminding him of Vrindavan. But in that place, on the bank of the Godavari river, the Lord happened to meet Ramananda Roy. Very important devotee. Then he visited the place known as Tirupati, famous place. There he extensively preached the chanting of the Lord's holy name. After visiting that temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to subdue some atheists. He ran into some atheists, even in South India. Then he came to the land of Sri Ranga Kshetra, which is on the bank of the Kaveri river. He visited the temple of Sri Ranganath, and there he was again overwhelmed in the ecstasy of love of Godhead. While there, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lived at the house of Venkata Bhatta. He stayed there for 4 months during the rainy season, which is called Chaturmasya. Venkata Bhatta was, at that time, he was known as Trimala Bhatta. He was both a member of the Vaishnav community and he was also a learned scholar. Therefore, when he saw Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was both a scholar and a devotee, he was very happy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed the entire 4 months with the Sri Vaishnavas. In South India, Sri Vaishnavas, that's like the headquarters. It's another sampradaya. Venkata Bhatta belonged to that sampradaya. But Mahaprabhu comes and he converts everybody. At the end of the Chaturmasya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued traveling throughout southern India. At that time he met Paramananda Puri. He's one of the big sannyasis from another sampradaya, but he came and joined Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Jagannath Puri. After this, the servant of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu who was known as Krishna Das, he was delivered from the clutches of the Bhattataris. Bhattataris is like a gypsy group. Prabhupada talks about it. says, Prabhupada gives a purport. In that area, there is a section of Brahmins known as Nam-Budri Brahmins. And there was also the Bhattataris, who were, these Bhattataris were like priests. They knew many tantric black arts, black magic. They knew these black arts, such as the art of killing a person and bringing them under their submission and devastating them. These people were very expert in these black arts. And one of these Bhattataris, bewildered the personal servant of Lord Chaitanya, Krishna Das. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, imagine this, he's traveling with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and still fell in Maya. He's traveling with the Supreme Lord and he could still fall in Maya. Somehow or other, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went and rescued him and got him back. He saved him. Because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is known as Patita Pavana, Savior of the fallen. And he proved this by saving his personal servant Krishna Das. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Rangapuri, and there he mitigated the sufferings of a Brahmin named Ramdas. I think we heard about this yesterday. When he was a devotee of Ram, and he was so absorbed in the pastimes of Ram that he was oblivious to the external world. He got lost in the pastimes. He met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he had invited him to come and take prasad at his house. So as a sannyasi, Mahaprabhu went, because he doesn't cook for himself, he's dependent on the grihasthas. But when he got there, there was no prasadam. Because this Brahman was so absorbed in he was thinking, oh, Mother Sita has been kidnapped by that demon Ravana. How can I think of cooking?
He says something like, Lakshmana went in the forest, he did not return yet.
And he hasn't come back yet. He was completely lost in the pastime. He was living in the pastime. But he invited Mahaprabhu for lunch. Mahaprabhu said, oh, where's the prasad? But then Mahaprabhu had a discussion with the Tattvavadis. That's another sect, another community. Tattvavadis. Prabhupada comments, the Tattvavadis is a sect belonging to Madhvacharya, who we heard about yesterday extensively. Madhvacharya. But these Tattvavadis differ from the strict Vaishnava principle of Madhvacharya. Anyway, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then visited several Vishnu temples of Anantadev, Purushottam, Janardhan, Padmanabha, and Vasudev. These are names of the deities in all these famous old temples. After that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu delivered the celebrated Saptatal tree. He delivered a tree. He took his bath at Setubanda, at Rameshwar, and he visited a Shiva temple known as Rameshwara, famous temple. Purport Prophet says, while Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was touring South India, he embraced one tree, the Saptatal tree, and that the soul in that tree was delivered and promoted to Vaikuntha, just by the embrace of Mahaprabhu. At Rameshwar, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a chance at the Rameshwar temple to read the Kurma Purana, in which he discovered that the form of Sita kidnapped by Ravan was not the real Sita, but a Maya Sita, a shadow representation. So this is in the Kurma Purana. But until Mahaprabhu brought this out, people didn't know. Prabhupada gives a purport. He says the Kurma Purana states that this shadowy Sita, Maya Sita, was put into the fire. That's what Prabhu told us yesterday. It was not the real Sita. The Maya Sita was put into the fire as a test of chastity. And when the Maya Sita entered the fire, the real Sita came out of the fire, untouched. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very happy to read this information about the false Sita. And he remembered when he was meeting previously with that Brahmin Ramdas, who was feeling sorry that Sita was kidnapped by Ravan. Mahaprabhu thought, oh, he would like to hear this. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ripped the page out of the book in the temple to bring it to show the Brahmin. Although this book was very old, he showed it to Ramdas, whose unhappiness was mitigated. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also found two other books, the Brahma Samhita and the Krishna Karnamrita. Knowing these books to be excellent, he took them to present to his devotees in Jagannath Puri.
Brahma Samhita was Trivandrum.
Yeah.
Trivandrum.
And the Krishna Karnamrita. Prabhupada says, he gives a purport, he says, in the olden days, the time before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even, there were no printing presses. Books were written on palm leaves by hand. And so, all the important scriptures were handwritten and kept in the big temples. Those were the only place the books were, the scriptures. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu found the Brahma Samhita and the Krishna Karnamrita in these handwritten texts. And knowing them to be very authoritatively, he took them with him to present to his devotees in Orissa, in Jagannath Puri. Of course, he obtained permission from the temple authorities to take those books. Now both Brahma Samhita and Krishna Karnamrita, these two books are both available in print with commentaries by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's been passed down. And they're available. Bhaktisiddhanta collecting these books, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned to Jagannath Puri in time to witness the bathing ceremony of Jagannath. When Jagannath was absent from the temple, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who could not see him, felt great separation. And he left Jagannath Puri and went to a place called Alalanath. This place, Alalanath, is about 14 miles from Jagannath Puri. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu stayed there for some days at Alalanath, and in the meantime, he received news while there that all his devotees from Bengal were coming. They were on their way to Jagannath Puri. So when the devotees of Jagannath from Bengal arrived at Jagannath Puri, both Nityananda Prabhu and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya greatly endeavored to take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu back to Jagannath Puri so the devotees can see him. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu finally left Alalanath to return to Jagannath Puri, he was overwhelmed day and night in separation from Jagannath. In fact, his lamentation knew no bounds. During this time, all the devotees from different parts of Bengal, especially from Navadvip, all arrived in Jagannath Puri.
Did you see this stone? Remember?
Yeah.
There's a stone.
Yeah.
They show me the stone. It's marked for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's body. Is it true?
Yeah.
Is it confirmed?
That's what they say.
They told you. Yeah.
Prabhupada comments, being absolute, Lord Jagannath is identical in person, form, picture, kirtan, and all other circumstances. Therefore, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the chanting of the holy name of the Lord, he was pacified. Because Krishna is not different from his name. He was feeling separation, and the kirtan pacified him, got him out of it. Previously, the Lord had been feeling very morose due to separation from Jagannath. The conclusion is, whenever a kirtan of pure devotees takes place, the Lord is immediately present there. And by chanting the holy names of the Lord, we associate with the Lord personally. This is very important because Kirtan, Mahaprabhu told the devotees, Kirtan is my life and soul. He is the one who brought this chanting and gave it to us. But sometimes, after years or whatever, some devotees will give up chanting. As if it's not so important. But from these statements, by hearing from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada is saying here that the conclusion is wherever the kirtan is of pure devotees, means those who are practicing Krishna consciousness, wherever that takes place, the Lord is immediately present there. And this is also confirmed by Krishna himself in Srimad Bhagavatam, speaking with Narad Muni. He told Narad Muni, you should know for certain, hear it from me, that I am not in Vaikuntha. Krishna says, I am not in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is the spiritual world. He said, I'm not there. And Narad Muni is hearing Krishna say this. He said, really? I thought you were there. He said, no, I'm not there. Then he says, I'm also not in the hearts of the yogis who are meditating on me. They're meditating on, they want to see the Lord in the heart. He said, I am also not there. Narad Muni is astonished. You're not in Vaikuntha, you're not in the heart of the yogis. Then where are you? And what does Krishna say? He said, wherever my devotees are chanting, I run quickly there. I run away from Vaikuntha. I run out from the hearts of the yogis and I go there. So, Krishna is present. We have to appreciate what we've been given. So therefore we always say, everybody should come and participate. This programs of the temple, is for us, it's for our benefit. Prabhupada would say, it is not for Krishna's benefit. He is Atmaram, self-satisfied. But it's for us. Therefore we should be enthusiastic to come to the program. Mangal Arati begins at 4:30. We have much more devotees than those present here. Right? We have a community of what? 40? Where are they? Come for everything. Because it's been established for us. But if we forget, we think it's take it or leave it. It's optional. But we don't think like that about prasadam. No. Everyone is there for prasadam. But we should have a similar enthusiasm for kirtan, for arti, for hearing the classes. This is, Prabhupada he instituted these things for our benefit. He knows we need this. Our minds will trick us. Maya will tell us, you don't really need to go. You've gone so many times already. So what if you don't go? This means Maya is got you. You're thinking otherwise. No. If you say, well, I've heard so many classes, I heard all that already. One says like that, one acharya says, anyone who says like that, that means they never really heard. They never really heard.
A fool.
We have to learn how to listen. And we listen to learn. So much is given here. So, in the chanting of the holy names of the Lord, we are associating with the Lord personally. So, we've run out of time again. Nothing new. So, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
May I say something?
Yes.
I was remembering when we met this Saturday, asked Lord Chaitanya to go to Jagannath Puri. Lord Chandas Thakur explained that Chaitanya Mangal, there are two reasons why Lord Chaitanya went to Puri. The second reason was generation of Krishna, Radha, Krishna left to Vrindavan. You have is eternal review.
Yeah, when the Lord acts, whatever He does, there's many reasons why He does it. You may not be aware of all the reasons.
Yeah.
Like He Himself says, I came to Jagannath Puri just to capture Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
Yeah.
That was a reason.
Yeah.
Because Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was a big, big personality. He was famous all over India. He was the greatest logician. He was the first person Mahaprabhu converted in Jagannath Puri. And that was a big thing because when people heard about that and saw him dancing in the kirtan with Mahaprabhu, they were like, that was impressive.
Sorry, who was that?
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya.
And the whole India started to speak.
Oh, and this news went all over India. People heard, did you hear? People were talking about it. So that's just one of the many reasons why he went there.
And now when he went to Godavari
Yeah,
to rescue
he met
Ramananda Roy.
Ramananda Roy.
Ramananda Roy.
You see, and even these people, Ramananda Roy and others, they're eternal associates of the Lord. But even when they take birth, they don't know their past. They don't know who they were in their previous life.
Yeah, good point.
But Lord Chaitanya was coming to collect them up.
Yeah.
And actually he would tell them who they are.
The Bhagavad as well.
He would tell them who they are, who they were, who they are in Krishna Leela. They have an eternal position. But even they, when they come, they don't remember. But he comes and collects them up to have his pastimes with them.
Kavikarnapur, which book is that? He explains all the...
Yeah, Kavikarnapur was one of the associates of Mahaprabhu. He wrote a book telling them who's who. Who's who. So and so in Chaitanya Leela is so and so in Krishna Leela. Such knowledge is available. We don't know who we are. Right? We don't know who we are in Krishna Leela. We heard that we are eternal and that this is not, this body is not, we are not this body. We hear that, but do we believe it? We live as if we are this body. Therefore, we need to come and hear repeatedly that you're not this body. That repetition is necessary for us because we are so steeped into thinking that we are this body. 99.9% of the world population, Prabhu said, are in this illusion. There are so many universities around the world, thousands. But people go to university for years, and when they come out, they still don't know who they are, what they are. They think, I'm this body. So Prabhupada was extensively traveling the world preaching, and he wanted his devotees to go out and distribute this knowledge to people. Save them from the ignorance. So that is our task. It's not easy, but Prabhupada has made it easy because we have books. And he requested us we should try to distribute these books. This will help. Actually, Prabhu said, the time will come in the future when historians will write about this movement. The historians will write about it. That this movement saved humanity. Right now, they don't write about us. If they write anything about us, they don't have anything good to say. Right? But Prabhupada said, no, the time will come when they will write about us. So, whatever is conceived in the mind of a pure devotee, that is reality. That will come to pass. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, in every town and village of the world. When he said it 500 years ago, the boys were thinking, he's just exaggerating. They couldn't imagine this would happen. And even when Srila Prabhupada came, and he was coming, people tried to discourage him from coming. And then they began to hear. First they began to hear that he's converting Americans and Europeans and so on and so on. And some of them people were still doubting, disbelief. And then Prabhupada brought his devotees to India. And when they saw, they were shocked. They couldn't believe it. I read one account that one lady who was a lawyer, a big lawyer in Bombay, she came to one of the Pandal programs when Prabhupada was there with his Western disciples, and she couldn't believe it. So she went up to Prabhupada and said, this is amazing. She was an intelligent woman. She said, how did you do it? And Prabhupada said, do what? She said, how did you get these Westerners to shave their heads and put on saris and tilak and dress in dhoti? How did you do this? This to her was unimaginable. Prabhupada said, I didn't do any magic. It is not magic. I simply presented the truth as it is. As I heard it from my Guru Maharaj, I presented it. And they are taking. But yet people were in disbelief that this could happen. So in time, they will, those who write the history books, they'll have to acknowledge it. You read history books, they tell you what went on 1,000 years ago or whatever. This movement will be in the history books. Because it is the most wonderful thing. How long they're going to ignore it? They'll have to acknowledge it. All right. Hari Bol.